Hello, and welcome to today's webinar. In this session, we will demonstrate the various ways Provo products can help you quickly and easily install optional building elements to improve the design and function of your spaces before waterproofing, whether it be with heated shower floors, benches, prefabricated tileable niches, or tile edge solutions. I'm Dwayne Farley, the Technical and Installation Specialist for MD Pro and Provo products. I have over 40 years experience in the industry, and I'm excited to share my knowledge with you in this video. As with all our Provo products, the optional products we will be showcasing combine in a seamless manner, and their individual properties really exemplify just how much Provo products contribute to the construction of functional, aesthetically pleasing spaces. Shower benches offer great utility for those with accessibility needs, those who may want extra ledge space for storage, and those who would just prefer to sit while showering or enjoying a steamed room. A shower bench is often considered to be a luxury, but that doesn't mean it has to be hard to install. Building a bench is made easy with Provo Board Plus because this tile backer has great structural integrity, but is still very easy to cut. By cutting Provo Board Plus, you can customize the size of your bench to your desired dimensions. As I will show you in our installation demo, you will only need some sections of Provo Board Plus and some Provo Seal to produce a fully custom tileable bench that can be used in wet areas. First, I will go over the basic bench building fundamentals for how to construct a rectangular bench. After I demonstrate an installation of this type of bench, I will explain how you would apply those same skills to building in other kinds of shower benches, such as floating and corner benches. So now I'm going to show you how we would build and install a bench. Tools you're going to need is a caulking gun with, of course, Provo Seal in it, tape measure, 1/4 by 3/8 square notch trowel. You'll need a saw, could be a skill saw, hand saw, pencil, a knife, safety glasses, of course. You will need a level, and a margin trowel is very handy, and a bucket of mortar. So now I'm going to show you how to install the bench. So last night, I made this bench up ahead of time. I cut my legs what I wanted, 10 inches. These are 16. I put them in place using our Provo Seal by running a bead on the back side. A good heavy bead, 3/8 to 1/2 inch. And you want to do 2 beads here. Then I just set it in place. I had a spacer here to hold it back, set it in place. And by letting it set overnight, it just makes it so much easier to work with today. So now I can take this bench, I can hang on to it, it's not going to fall apart. Have the bench in place. Now the bench has to be installed prior to doing the pan because you'll be dealing with a slope pan, a lot tougher to deal with. And we actually want our pan going under here so our membrane's on top. So in our next panel, when it goes on top of the bench, it seals. That'll be on top of the pan. Now this is the way you'd build it. All right, all put together with Provo Seal. And now when I'm going to install this, I turn it back upside down. This is our 2-inch Provo board. Don't need any fasteners with this. Provo Seal is going to work perfect for holding it all together. If you're doing the 1/2-inch board over top of a wood framed bench, you're going to have to use your screws and the Provo Seal as you would normally do with our Provo board. So by taking it this way now, I have my mortar mixed up. I put mortar on these legs, just a little bit of a thin layer. And by using my level and pushing it in place, I can get this thing perfectly level. Makes it a lot easier than trying to cut these dead on. So now I know my bench fits, now I'm going to install it. And this is where the margin trowel comes in perfect for this. Just by putting a little bead on here. Now, if you didn't have a margin trowel, there's nothing wrong with using a notch trowel. So I could put this pan on now, but I'm doing the pan first. The Provo pan is going down here first. I'm going to put this piece on afterwards. I'm going to have to cut it down to fit. That's installed. So we have this bench in this way. We could do a floating bench in one of two ways. We could do a parallel beam, which is a real big, thick piece of wood. But unfortunately, if you're going to do a glass partition out here, you can't have that one because you couldn't support this outside edge. So what you could do is you can buy brackets online that fasten to the stud, and they have a flat bar that sits out here. You fasten them in, put the Provo board on top, which would allow you to still do your glass wall floating bench, but it's supported. That's another great way of doing it. Another great option you have with Provo is the ability to heat a shower floor, and you can even carry the heat up onto the bench seat area. For anyone who has ever sat on a tile or stone bench at the shower, you already know how cold it is compared to the rest of the shower. This is because heat rises. Having a heated shower bench will alleviate this issue as it gives off heat that will be constant. Provo Products makes this installation simple, and if you already viewed our webinar on underlayments, you know the basics of installing Provo Flex Heat. But here, I'll show you how to complete the installation in a shower system. So now we're going to install the Provo Flex Heat in the shower area. You're going to need a knife. You'll need a pencil or a marker of some sort, a tape measure, a 1/4 by 1/4 square notch trowel for putting in the membrane. You're going to need a margin trowel, straight edge, and of course, our bucket of polymer modified thin set mortar. So we already have the pan installed, the Provo linear pan installed, the Provo curb installed. Now we're going to put in heating, our Provo Flex Heat in the shower area so we can heat the floor. What we got to do, as you can see here, I've dry fit everything. I've cut 1-inch strips to go in the recessed area of the drain area, because the drain, if you remember, has this area here that's recessed into the pan. So we got to make sure if we're raising the field up, the main part of the shower, we have to also raise up where the drain's going to go. So that's what we got going on right now. So I'm going to pull everything out and mortar everything in. Going to use our 1/4 by 1/4 square notch trowel because we're putting in our uncoupling membrane, the Provo Flex Heat. And again, always protect your work as much as you can. This is going to be fiddly right now, so that's why I'm inside the shower, so I can get the recessed drain area done. So as you notice, I had this in small squares. There actually are 10 square foot sheets of Provo Flex Heat, just because if you're only doing this area, no sense buying a big roll, just buy 2 or 3 sheets. So, as they come out, they go back in. So that puts all that back into place. Just a lot easier to trowel this right now on top before I get my next sheet in here. Again, I'm flat troweling. And once you get enough done, you can notch it. Now we're ready to install our Provo Flex Heat on top of our Provo linear pan. Provo linear pans are a one-plane slope, so no extra steps to be taken here. Unlike with our Provo Pan and Provo Pan Multi, which have 4 slopes, all from each side down the drain. They're really 4 triangles. You can't put the Provo Flex Heat over those axis lines. You have to cut it to those triangles. So once you've got it in there, you're going to put it in place, flat trowel it, roll it, whatever you need to do to get it put into the wet mortar. I find a trowel is very easy. And once that's all done, we're ready to install the drain. So I got the drain area ready to go. Other than that back edge, very tough to get in there. It's a lot easier just to put in the back side of this. Nice smooth transition. It's not raised above it, which is great. Pick up this back flap. Okay, so now we have ProFlex heat on the shower area. Now we're going to show you how to do the bench. Already pre-cut them, dry fit. I know it all fits. Okay, so now we got that done. Now it's time to put the front on here because then we're going to run our wires. So, right here, I already have it cut to size. I've already dry fitted it. What I've done is I've taken my skill saw and I have created a channel in this Provo board. Now, anywhere between 3/4 inch wide, doesn't really matter, and 1/4 to 3/8 inch deep. The best way to do that is to set your saw that depth. Run some lines in it and just move your saw back and forth. Creates that channel. So this we already know is going to dry. It already dry fitted. We know it's going to fit. We're going to put on some Provo Seal. We know it fits. It's a bead on here, a good heavy bead. All the supports, the front supports. So we got that done. Since we're going to be putting Provo mat on this floor and up the wall over the face, we don't have to worry about the seal down here right now. All we got to do is put our beads on the top of this. So 2 heavy beads on here. You know, 1/4, 3/8. Really can't put too much, but you can definitely put not enough. And every time we do something more to it, we just keep strengthening it up. So now we're ready to run the wire. You have to cut a channel in this top part of the bench too to match the one you've got here. Okay, so I'm holding the heat wire and the sensor wire. Both these wires will actually stay in my mat. We're the only ones that can do that. The sensor wire, this part does not go in the shower. Because if you have a sensor wire, it's going to get the hot water from the shower head. It's going to throw off your readings. Also, make sure that whoever wire you're using is intended or warranted for use in a shower area. And make sure it meets building codes. So we want to make sure that this wire can go in the shower we're putting it in. So make sure the wire manufacturer is in agreement with that. We can put that right in there. I'm going to cut that down in. Some of these leads at the end are fairly big. You may have to cut out part of the ProvoFlex heat to allow for it to sit down in it. We can jog this back here like this, come up. Yeah, and our ProFlex heat takes any size wire that's pretty well out there, up to a 5.4 millimeter. And of course down to the sensor wire, which is very tiny. All right. Then we're going to go down in front of this channel that I've made. And I'll get some hot melt glue and I'll put that back in there so it'll stay in place. It won't cause me any issues. 3-inch spacing is the optimal spacing for wire heat. You go much wider than that, you may have a cold spot between the wires. And there we are. Now we got to get back out of the shower, so we got to kind of channel in the curb, over the curb, and down to bring the wire out. You can't go through it because that's going to put too much pressure on the wire. Won't have any mortar around it. You always want these wires encapsulated in mortar. So we're going to kind of channel out of that now. And you can make you want that wire to make a nice little loop up there. You don't want to make it too tight if you can help it. So we're going to go right up here. So that wire comes along up there, a little loop down, up over the top, out, and wherever we're going to go with it next. If that's it, it could be going back to the boxes right up in here. It's going to be in the ceramic tile, has to always be in mortar. It can never be on its own. So it has to always be under a ceramic tile. Okay, so now we have our wires running there. I got lucky, it went down the bench, the wire stayed in behind. Even here, it's not above, so I don't have to hot melt this in place. I can leave it as it is. I'm going to fill it with mortar anyways. But now we're going to put our waterproof mat on our Prover mat. We're doing it for 2 reasons. One, we always say our systems won't have mold and mildew growing because they won't. But ProvoFlex heat has these pockets and cavities that would collect moisture, and you could get mold and mildew growing. So we don't want that. And the second reason, which I think is more important to me, I don't want to be standing in a shower with electric wires. This gives you that separation. So that's why we're going to do this. And the trowel I'm using today is a 1/4 by 3/16 V-notch trowel. This is I think the perfect trowel for putting these membranes in. And when you flat trowel, if there's any wire sticking up, you spot it so easy. Just give it a push down and it's ready to go. So there we go. Like that. Since we're doing Provo board in the walls, we have to cover this back piece. So that's that done. Now we gotta do the bench. Just filling in that channel that the cable runs through. So I'm going to bring this Provo mat out on top of here. Saves me putting joint strip in there. Makes our waterproof seal. And now I've covered also my first wire going through that curb on the top. So we built the bench out of Provo board. We've wrapped it along the top, which we had to because it's on top of the Provo Flex Heat. Did we have to do it at the front? In this instance, yes, because we ran the heat wire up there. We got to cover that down. So we're going to put Provo mat over the top of that anyways. Why not just do the whole bench and waterproof it out onto here? And because the board had to go on first, that's why we're now covering the board. That is ready for tile. Now let's move on to discuss a different optional building element, Provo Niche. Provo Niche is prefabricated from Provo Board Plus waterproof tile backer and using Provo Seal. They are offered in popular sizes. And they are all 16 inches wide to fit vertically between your standard stud spacing. Do not install niches on an outside wall as you would need to remove insulation, which is never a good idea. Niches are great for adding extra storage space to showers, tub surrounds, and even kitchen backsplashes. The safety glass shelving that comes with our larger niche is great for holding additional accessories. The glass is laminated, just like a car windshield, so it won't break into pieces like tempered glass would. If you're looking for more option sizes, Provo Niche is highly customizable. The ends of the niches can be cut off so you can merge multiple niches together. You can make a niche any size you want. If you're looking to have a wider niche, the 33-inch niche can be installed horizontally. The dimensions were carefully chosen so that the niche fits between two studs when a third stud is cut out from the center. For a supporting wall, be sure to put a header up in and install it according to appropriate building codes. So now these are the tools we're going to need to install our niche. You're going to need the Provo Seal and a caulking gun. You're going to need a drill with a Phillips head in it. You'll need our fasteners, the washers, and the screws. You're going to need a level. You may need a straight edge, which I'll explain later why. You'll need a pencil. You'll need a tape measure, a putty knife, margin trowel. You will need a knife, and of course, safety glasses. Okay, so now it's time to install our niche. This is our 33-inch tall one. It's a very tall one. It actually comes with 2 glass shelves. So what we're going to do is we're going to put up there, dry fit it. So we know it fits in there solid. I've put in the cross piece so that this niche sits down on it, or any niche you're going to put in. So as you can see, studs are not always in perfectly at 16-inch centers. We've got a little bit of a problem here. We aren't quite all the way over. Got to go in level also. I could put an extra piece of 2x4 on the side of this if I happen to have one around. Or all I have to do is cut back a 1/2 inch, and I'm now going to be back on center on my stud, which is important. So, I want to be back. We're going to cut back 3/8 of an inch. We'll do a 1/2, because leaving an 1/8 inch gap all the way around is preferable. So this can be cut with a knife, could be cut with a skill saw, hand saw. When you're cutting Provo board, don't try to cut through all at once. Take that little piece off. It's going to let us put this niche in here again and be center on this stud, as well as we're center on that stud. Just like that. Now we're going to install it. This is back up in place, sitting down. Last thing we want to do is have Provo Seal sticking out past this. Could cause a problem later on. Provo Seal. We're going to run a bead on the side here. Good heavy bead. And you will always be running a bead of Provo Seal, because you're never going to put a niche on an outside wall. So we got it ready to go. Set it in place. We already got our marks. Want to put it in level. So we got our washer and the screw that goes with it. And the back of our washer has little feet on it so it won't spin in the board. So you never want to put this way up at the very edge. It's going to kink the board a little wee bit. You want to stay back a bit if you can. One way you can do it is the way I've got it there, or you can take this fastener, shove it in place. Put the screw in. And you want it to dimple. You don't want it to stick out. And then we have our glass shelves to be put in while we're doing our tiling. As I mentioned, I don't want to leave any ridges out here, because if I don't get to this in half an hour, it's already going to be almost fully set. So we want to scrape that off smooth. Just so it doesn't cause us any problems. Perfect. Provo also offers great finishing options with our Provo Tile Edge family of trims, transitions, and nosings for ceramic tile and stone. Provo Tile Edge protects unfinished tile edges from damage. If you bang something into an unfinished tile, you'll probably end up chipping the edge. Provo Tile Edge takes care of that. Some commercial washrooms only have a grout line around the top of the tile trim, and the base, it looks terrible, and it will wear over time. It's the same thing in a residential bathroom. If trims aren't used to finish the tile edges, the tile may chip, and it will not be aesthetically pleasing either. Provo offers a precise selection of profiles and finishes for the most common residential and commercial applications. No matter what the scope of the job, rest assured that it will be finished off just right with Provo Tile Edge. ProTile Edge includes aluminum, PVC, and stainless steel offerings. Aluminum and PVC trims are suitable for interior applications, while stainless steel trims can be used in both exterior and interior, as well as in rooms that must be kept sanitary. We do not recommend using mill finished products in wet areas. Mill finish is actually raw aluminum, which means it will oxidize in these conditions. It's going to have aluminum oxide that comes off. It will turn gray, and when you wipe it, it'll come off black. The anodizing process on our trims adds color and protects them from oxidizing. So these trims are perfect for indoor, wet areas. ProFlat Tile Edge comes in a variety of sizes to accommodate different tile thicknesses. The selection of aluminum trim heights includes 3/16, 1/4 inch, 5/16, 3/8, 1/2 inch, 5/8, and 3/4. Each of these trims is 8 feet in length, which is ideal size for many projects that require finished tile edge. For projects that require a lengthier finished tile edge, ProFlat Tile Edge comes in 12-foot lengths. These come in 5/16, 3/8, and 1/2 inch. ProTile Edge is the only product line in the market that includes 12-foot tile edge offerings. The length is perfect for rooms with high ceilings. Even after using the tile edge in a room with a 9 or 10-foot ceiling, there will be a few feet left over to use. And the great thing about such a long tile edge is that it's not only useful for rooms with high ceilings, but it can be used when transitioning hardwood from a family room to ceramic tile in the kitchen. And because there are no joints in it, it's one piece all the way across. It cuts down installation time. Another unique application of ProTile Edge is to use it around curved flooring. ProTile Edge Contour Flex Max is a flexible aluminum tile edge that is offered in all the same height configurations as the 8-foot aluminum tile edge. Its structure, which includes a punch setting flange, allows it to be curved around flooring up to a 2-foot radius. The curve can be created either by hand or by using a tile trim bending machine. Let's take a look at the specifics of some of our trim categories. Our ceramic tile adapter covers the edges along carpet or adjacent flooring. The leading edge is always the same height off the ground, no matter what size the tile trim is. It's always 1/4 inch. And the front edge on the bottom of our tile reducer is always the same height. Doesn't matter what size you are buying, it's just going to have a longer top to it. Our square tile edge can be used for a range of applications. The aluminum square tile edge shown here connects to outside and inside corner trims, which are identical to each other because they are square in shape. Our aluminum round tile edge connects to outside and inside corner trims. The corner pieces are unique to each other because the corner areas are not the same shape. Our countertop stair nosing trim also connects to trims specifically made for finishing inside and outside corners. This trim can be used for countertops and stair nosing. These are our Pro nosing products. The first image here is of our dual-purpose decorative edging. This is a great trim because it has 2 different heights. It can be reversed and used in either configuration. It's perfect for using on countertops, raised platforms, and stairs. A particular example of where to use this would be for tiling up a tub with a towel placed facing away from it. The top edge is going to be cut, but that's fine because it's going to be protected with a tile edge. It also works well to refresh outdated tile. You can install new tile over top of the outdated tile and finish it with this nosing. This can save you time, as there is no need to take apart everything for simple aesthetic updates. The decorative tile stair nosing is a long nosing trim for ceramic tile. It's a popular option because it can bend around corners if doing a bull nose installation on commercial stairs. The anti-skid stair nosing includes a fully replaceable vinyl insert. They can be made in longer lengths to suit your application needs. The advantage of this product is that it protects the edge of steps and it's great in commercial settings. Here are the ProTile Edge specialty profiles. The ceramic cove trim makes it a lot easier to clean around corners rather than using a square corner trims. It is ideal for commercial washrooms, backsplashes, any sanitary base applications. It's not meant to be used in shower areas. Water would get behind and create rot and mildew. The stainless steel trim can be used in places like hospitals and other sanitary environments. They are the perfect choice for using in outdoor environments and wet areas. The T-molding profile is offered in 2 different widths and is ideal for use between floors of equal height and where expansion is expected to occur. They will accommodate movement and reduce stress on tile that often leads to cracking. Room for expansion becomes especially important when the tile installation will be exposed to a lot of sunlight, moisture, or both. In particular, expansion joints of this kind are useful for transitions between ceramic and flooring types such as floating hardwood, laminate, LVT, LVP. These flooring materials will expand over time, so an expansion joint is necessary to provide the tile some room for movement. Transitions between flooring surfaces that don't include expansion joints may lead to tiles becoming dislodged from the floor and tenting up on each other. We also offer a T-molding reducer, which includes a sloped edge. It serves as a similar function as the surface expansion joint, but it has a reduced edge on one side so that transitions can be made between floors of different height. We have our commercial grade profiles, heavy-duty expansion joint and expansion joint. Our heavy-duty expansion joint comprises 2 pieces of metal and a vinyl insert, and it is ideal for preventing tile from cracking in high traffic areas, including airports, malls, and car dealerships. The vinyl insert is replaceable, so the trim gets damaged or the specifier wants a different color, the solution is simple. Just remove the insert and put a new one in. These trims are important to use where control expansion joints are found on concrete. The joints in the subfloor must be honored throughout the flooring installation. Lastly, the expansion joint is a one-piece trim. It has no insert. It is co-extruded like a heavy-duty expansion joint. This product is for commercial purposes, but it is for light-duty applications. This includes locations like small retail stores with a limited amount of foot traffic and no shopping carts. Okay, so now we have everything waterproofed. We're ready to put our tile on with our Prova tile edge. So the Prova tile edge I'm going to use today is our 1/2-inch tile edge. It's a flat one, it's just like a shape of an L. It fits the tile best that I'm using. Now we have different sizes of tile edges, from 3/16 up to 3/4 inch. This one here happens to be the 1/2 inch. It works out perfect. I'm going to be putting it on with polymer modified mortar. The trowel I use for the tile is the trowel I'm going to use for putting on the tile, or putting on the trim. So what I like to do, I've already got my level line on here. So now I got the mortar set in place. Now I'm going to lay this back on my level line, pushing it into the mortar. So we got that. Now mortar has snuck out here on me a little wee bit. This is something we don't want to leave this mortar on. We don't want to leave it on at all, but it's definitely not thick. So I want to make sure I get that scraped out of there. And even that little bit on there could etch the trim. So now I have that bedded in mortar. I've already got my tile cut ready to go. So I'm going around my curb, going to finish tiling on here later, come up to it. And I'm tiling in one continuous line, or troweling. I'm straight lines, it's not swirled. So with these large format tiles, if you don't back butter, whether you're going to flat trowel it or you're going to notch it, one of the two depends on what you have to do. If you got to do any build up, you at least have to flat trowel the back of the tile. What this does is it puts all the mortar 100% onto the back of that tile. When these are baked, made, they have a release agent that lets the tile come out of the mold. Well, it's still there a bit. So you know it's best off to just back butter it. Just a flat trowel. So put this in place. So that tile right now is dead flush with the top of that trim. You don't want to have that trim sticking out, especially on a floor. You know, a 32nd of an inch or like a millimeter would never cause a problem. If you let it stick up too high, like 1/8 of an inch, which some people think they want to cap it under this edge, it's not what you want to do. It becomes a tripping hazard. Not an issue on a wall, but on a floor it's a tripping hazard. So we got that in. We have some spacers. Grab another tile. And I hear some guys are out there and they tape the metal. That's okay. The problem with that is if anything gets behind the tape, you're not going to see it. And that could cause you a problem. Could cause some etching issues, discoloration. And there we go. And then we just carry on with the rest of the walls. Expansion joints go over control over expansion joints. An expansion joint is installed over it, but underneath the ceramic tile. Anytime you have an expansion or control joint, you need one of these expansion joints over top of that. Expansion joints, according to TCNA guidelines, expansion joints should be honored all the way through your tile installation. You would never cover an expansion joint in your substrate with anything but an expansion joint. That completes our webinar covering all optional and finishing applications one can achieve using Prova products. We began by building a basic shower bench by using Prova Board Plus and Prova Seal, and we discussed how to build an angular and floating benches. We learned how to heat the shower floor and bench with a combination of Prova Flex heat and radiant heating cables of your choosing. And we went over how to finish and protect tiles by using Prova Tile Edge finishing products. There are plenty of options to customize your Prova installations. And if you are really creative, there is definitely more customization opportunities to discover. The learning doesn't stop here though. This was just one video on some of our Prova products, but we are always innovating on our offerings and updating our installation methods to meet the changing needs of installers and industry standards. Please join me and watch our other videos in this series, where I go over topics like shower-based designs, waterproofing, motor types, and installation techniques. I'll see you there.